Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Maria Rahamägi, founder of Edumus, which is a platform for high school students to study courses online, and Estonian schools already take them as electives as well. But also, I am one of the founding members of EdTech Estonia, which is a union of Estonian EdTech companies. And about the organization, EdTech Estonia was founded 3 years ago, but before that, there was actually kind of active work in the field as well. And by now, we have already gathered together 53 EdTech companies, mainly startups, but yeah, we already have some older companies in the union as well. And of course, the main goal is to improve the quality of education. And as Estonia as a country has also taken it as a strategic goal to personalize education, then we see that this is where education technology can really contribute. And yeah, so our long-term goal is to have more than 200 EdTech companies in Estonia, and also to reach a export kind of revenue of 1 billion euros for Estonian education. And yeah, this is something that we are moving towards. By the way, I will right now go over kind of the organization, and later I will just tell a bit about my company and the journey kind of in parallel with EdTech Estonia as well. But yeah, I would say the field of Estonian EdTech started off in 2002, and slowly over the years, other startups kind of joined, and it was 2018 when the field was starting to grow more as first EdTech hack was organized. And this is actually where I participated myself as well, and started my own company. And now, yeah, EdTech hacks are one of the kind of pillar events of the year each year to inspire even more founders to start their companies. And what is really cool is that the EdTechs are working in various different fields, but most of them are in K-12 or then kindergarten level, a few in university level as well, but yeah, this is where our main focus has been. As mentioned, the yearly hackathons are one of the main activities in EdTech Estonia's portfolios, but we're also organizing different international events and sending international delegations to events such as BET or EdTech X. So quite often you wouldn't find like EdTechs separately from Estonia over there, but rather we are gathering everybody together and kind of representing the whole organization as well as ourselves. And that's because EdTech companies in Estonia are still quite small, and otherwise participation in these big events would be way too costly for our teams to be able to participate in, but doing this together makes it much more accessible. We have also like a co-creation program in collaboration with Tartu University, and the co-creation program is kind of a program where EdTech startups are paired with researchers from the university, and they work together with students or teachers directly in schools to develop the solutions that the teams are proposing, to really get this real life experience and develop their solutions in a very kind of scientific way. This has been very beneficial for quite large proportion of EdTech startups. I myself have not participated over there, but I've heard great things about it. And yeah, so yeah, as mentioned, the group of EdTech companies has grown significantly in the last few years. And I would say that's because, firstly, about the hacks, but also because the community now is much better organized and kind of works in a more strategic way. One of the most important achievements for EdTech Estonia has been the governmental cooperation. This public-private partnership is something that I myself find extremely important in the field of education technology, because government or public organizations are the main kind of clients of EdTech, because most of, say, European schools or other educational institutions are funded by the government. So if we want to achieve the impact that we would like to, then working with the public sector is extremely important. And thus, one of the main achievements of EdTech Estonia has been a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Education, where we agreed that kind of those or client-facing solutions should be developed within the private sector. So the government would not compete with public money with private sector initiatives. So when we already have some great solutions, for example, in language learning or pre-K learning kind of fields, then the government would not start to build a competitor themselves, but rather buy the services of the existing provider, or organizing like a competition or something like that to participate in this already, because public sector competing with private sector is very kind of destructive for the competition, and is very discouraging for EdTech investors as well, because if the main client decides to kind of cheat the system, then yeah, nothing can really happen. But I'm glad that our governmental sector already understands it better. So yeah, this memorandum of understanding has been really significant. We're also funded by the Ministry of Education and Research, and we have been in cooperation with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications as well. And yeah, we are a strategic partner of Ministry of Education when it comes to policy planning and implementation. So there's quite many public sector organizations that EdTech Estonia has been able to formalize relationships with, and yeah, we see it as a great achievement, but of course there's lots to develop. Some of the recent highlights from our members is, for example, Alpa Kids, which is a like a kindergarten level language learning mobile game. It has reached 500,000 downloads in India, and it's operating also, of course, over here in Estonia, but also in Ukrainian. So if you feel that like these target groups or there's some solutions you would like to try out, then Alpa Kids is even fun to get play with as an adult. So, and who knows, like you can learn a few words in Estonian as well. Then one of my kind of personal favorites is Triumph Health. This is a mental health game for students in schools, and this has been prized with multiple awards. Its main target group is primary school students, and it kind of gamifies mental health activities and reflection to support support students' mental health. And if they're already getting some more professional help, then it kind of makes it more efficient as well. Then we have 99 Math, which is a math learning game, also for primary school students, and Linguist, which I would say is one of the most global of our startups, which is a language learning app. And eGoal is our oldest EdTech, I can't say startup anymore because it's already 20 years old, but it's very commonly used in Estonian and other Baltic schools. They have also expanded to African countries. Very kind of one of the first education technology solutions that many schools have been using. And they are kind of school management platform where the like teachers hold grades and put homework up, and students use to get all of this information and so on. And now a few words about my EdTech journey as well. So I mentioned that, I didn't really plan to become an EdTech startupper, but as I have been contributing with junior achievement and working together with students, then I saw that there's firstly quite a big of a need and demand from the student side to work with the specialists and learn from them. But also specialists from different fields were so happy to contribute to education. So if with junior achievement, the focus had always been promoting entrepreneurship skills, then I thought that we shouldn't limit ourselves with that. We should inspire students in physics or mental health topics or whichever topics they might be interested in, and bring them together with specialists so they can learn from them. And indeed, like I had done this volunteer work, which had started off with organizing some of the smallest events to organizing a junior achievement kind of conference. So that gave me this project management experience, and also the connections to start my own EdTech company. So when I started Edumus, looking back, I knew already our first investors. We had been already working with them, and actually raising our first round of financing was, I would say, extremely easy due to that, because nobody was surprised of this new initiative of mine. And as people knew me and partly the team already, then they had trust that we could pull off what we had kind of taken as our goal. And by now, as mentioned in the beginning, Edumus is a cohort-based learning platform for teenagers. The courses take place online, but they have the synchronous aspect to them as well. So 2/3 of the work is done by the interactive and social online classes, and 1/3 of the work already self-directed by the students. But overall, the courses are synchronous, which ensures that the students are finishing the courses successfully. And we have specialists from a wide variety of fields you can put the slides on. I'm already 2 slides ahead, but specialists themselves are developing and delivering those courses, giving the students opportunity to study together with neuroscientists or psychologists or financial literacy experts, or pretty much whoever they might be interested in. And what I'm really happy about is that in addition to the B2C model that we have already been working together with more than 50 of Estonian schools who are also paying for those courses, giving the opportunity for students to take part in courses from mental health and well-being, financial literacy, to 3D modeling and social media marketing, to really scientific courses already like criminology or neuroscience. As I'm pretty much over my time, the last two slides. So if you are interested in the work that we are doing with Edomus, then I would, have this slide. You can scan the QR code and leave us your details because we are about to launch Edomus also in English, as we already have quite a few courses in English to give students across Europe the opportunity to join and have them learning topics that they are interested in and do it in this international group. And the next slide is for all of you guys who are interested in EdTech Estonia in general. You can find us on different social media platforms, but also sign up for the newsletter using the QR code shown on the slide as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. This was really exciting to listen to you in terms of all the work that has been done at EdTech Estonia, and a really unique model that you built in terms of the public-private partnerships and the Ministry of Education. So well done, EdTech Estonia, and well done you specifically with Edomus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please do stay for the panel discussion because I have seen some questions that people have been putting, and please feel free to use the Q&A section where you can ask questions our panelists, and we'll take them afterwards once we finish all the presentations. I realize there's a bit of a lag with the slides, so hopefully it will work okay for our next presenter. Kurt Gammelgaard Nielsen, are you with us, Kurt?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I can't see you. I don't know whether you have activated your camera and others are able to see you. I'll try to stop mine. Let's see whether that fixes it.
It should be on.
Yeah, now it works. Lovely. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm so humbled to be after Estonia did a really good job and very interesting your journey there. So I'm from EdTech Denmark. My name is Kurt Gammelgaard Nielsen. I'm newly assigned the CEO of EdTech Denmark, and I'd like to present the EdTech Denmark organization and what we're doing in Denmark in terms of educational technology. So if I can have the slides turned. Yeah. So our mission is to build a triple helix organization with companies, municipalities, NGOs, and educational institutions by facilitating a new Nordic digital learning agenda and creating ecosystems with those who are passionate, like we just saw from Estonia, the EdTech passionates. And we do that by having members in our community, in our ecosystem, which are creating and applying learning experience. And this is the heart of our organization, this triple helix organization. And you can see that on the next slide, which in this red, green, and blue circles try to define here. We promote ourselves in the center of it. We are well aware we are not always in the center, but we are in the center of some of the activities where we have educational and research institutions, EdTech companies, and governmental and public entities. So one activity that we think is quite central to us is, for instance, to take the PISA results that we all have seen probably yesterday, we are in close collaboration with the researcher who's behind it here in Denmark to facilitate discussion and dialogues about the results for Denmark, what we are going to do with it, what kind of challenges we see. And as you probably know, in the Nordic, we are quite similar, but something that is different in Denmark is that we use a lot of time behind the screens, so to speak, 3 hours per day per student. That's a quite high on average compared to other countries. Actually, it's the highest in the world. So we're looking into what difficulties, what opportunities would that kind of educational technology give us when we see some of the PISA results now. And unfortunately, we must say that we have decreased our learning capabilities, the reading capabilities, the mathematics has actually been decreasing for Denmark and the students in Denmark. What we try to facilitate this in conference and seminars and in events. Next slide, please. Where we can see that we think that we are in the forefront of the global EdTech scene is that we have a long tradition for respect the individual. We are some first movers on digitalization, have been that for some years now, and also looking into new capabilities. And here we have on the right screen robotics that is quite huge. We have a huge cluster in Denmark working robotics, and we of course also are part of that cluster, trying to understand what kind of capabilities is needed for students, for teachers, and also for employees to take the advantage of putting in robotics. So that we think is something that we like to look into further. If we can have the next slide. So here we have some of the challenges. We know from surveys that 33% of workers are expected to change jobs and sector in the coming years, in the coming decades. And here we just have a adolescent working with a robot and a cobot. So that demands actually a new way of working, this cobot in collaboration with robots. And that is important for us to understand what kind of educational technology is needed for new people to learn how to work besides a robot. I think that is a huge challenge, and we like to take that challenge on us to understand the methodology, the pedagogical, but also the learning technology around that, the adolescent learning technologies. Next, please. So we don't see only in educational technology in K-12, we also see there's a long, lifelong learning opportunities where public and also companies have to look into how to re-educate people that are within the career. So we think that is important, and we try to stress this. Learning is not only for children, it is also for adolescents and in companies in a career-long learning effort. Next, please. So here we have some numbers in our history as well. So going back to 1996, when the first EdTech was established, you can see we are around 174. And there will be an investment of around 130 million euros in 2021, and the sector employs around 4,500 people. What I would like to pinpoint here that I found very interesting compared to other countries is 2006. There was a collaboration between the municipalities and the government with entering a Unilogin. It's a federated login service. I think that was quite an enabler in Denmark for both EdTech companies, but also for government and the municipalities, and an easy way for students and teachers to log into services. And I think that's an important educational component within Denmark that has enabled more companies to actually grow. We have several delegations from Germany where this is not in place, and the hardship for Germany actually and other countries to enable easy access to educational technologies. When we talk about Nordic learning model, what we think about this is that it has a social component, it has a teaching component, and a classroom management competence. So compared to, for instance, the US, where we see more like a broadcast model, we think this is something that constitutes a Nordic learning model. But I'm happy to take to be challenged on this. But within these dimensions, we think this is important to look into, to build research capabilities, and also to look into companies that is looking into to further develop these competences within our learning model. So it is the teachers' needs and the desires, the connected researchers. So we have researchers looking into this and the practices, taking that from research institutions like DTU, Aalborg University, but also from institutions like University College Lillebælt and other university colleges, taking this close collaboration between institutions, research institutions, and municipalities. That is important for us to understand this. So if we try to look in further, let's see here. So the pedagogical and didactical-based development integration, we think that is the important part. We do that by being very close in collaboration with the institutions, with startups that's a part of the institutions and the research institutions, making sure that they have access to this kind of information and research results, and try to integrate that into their products. I think that is important for them to actually succeed in the global market with educational technologies. The global market, as you probably know, is rapid growing, and also the Danish EdTech companies have been a part of that with around 1 billion Danish kroners in evaluation. So this has been very interesting to follow for the recent years. I think we have to be honest to say that 2021 was a peak. We see more stable and also maybe a decreasing investment in 2023, also as part of the global, maybe not recession, but stabilization in investment. But this is the numbers right now for what we have access to. And now I think I'm coming to the end of my presentation. Here's some of our companies that is part of EdTech Denmark. So you will see both very large companies and institutions, and also very small ones, and then widespread within different realms, within K-12, within research institutions, within adolescent, within medical training, like Videsim, and also within virtual reality and publishing. So I think we have a good ecosystem around EdTech Denmark that we try to nourish and try to support in their achievement in their own vision of their products and their institutions. The last slide, I think, then will be our how to connect to us. You feel free to connect to me. Here are my contact informations. And as I think Natalie also mentioned yesterday, we are having a pitch event tomorrow, and please join us. We will have some interesting cases presenting their companies within both sustainability and EdTech, within monitoring, educational technology, and also educational competences within institutional framework. And we have other companies as well as pitching tomorrow before the program starts at 2 o'clock. Our pitch will be from 11 to 1 o'clock tomorrow. But please free to reach out to me for any questions regarding EdTech Denmark. that was what I had for this session. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present for you.
Thank you so much, Kurt. That was wonderful. Really exciting work that is happening at EdTech Denmark. So I'm sure that people will be keen to follow the pitch event tomorrow, and it's good timing. It's right before the third day of our bootcamp. So if you are keen, you can make both events. I'll take the question afterwards just to make sure that we are on time with all our presentations, because our next speaker will take us through what is happening in Sweden. So Jannie, if you would like to activate your camera and take over now.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it works fine,
Yes,
and we can see you.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, and so interesting to hear both Estonia and Denmark, and looking forward to Iceland and Finland. Yes, I'm going to give a short description of the market in Sweden. I'm representing the Swedish EdTech industry, which is a trade association for EdTech companies operating in Sweden. We have been around for about 8 years now, and we have two main focuses, and one is to support public-private partnership collaborations in order to improve the quality of the education system when it comes to using digital tools and developing digital skills. And then we also have a big part where we work building knowledge on the industry and also on the important quality factors that needs to be in place in order to create value using digital tools for learning. So we do a lot of lobbying and work together with national agencies, organizations from municipalities, and in different aspects. And we work closely with our Nordic colleagues as well. We are small countries, all of us, so we need to collaborate. So you can put the next slide on. So what I want to talk to you is more about how Sweden is built up, how we govern the educational system, and also the early digitalization efforts that we've been doing, like in the Nordics. And I will also mention the recent political developments, but as you know, we've had a digital backlash for the last year here in Sweden when it comes to policy, which of course influences the development in the Swedish market. And then I'm also going to describe how we work with quality and how we use research-informed methodologies in order to test and iterate EdTech products. And I will also show you some examples of how we work with that one. So you can take the next slide. And just to start off with, it's important to understand that we in the Nordics are very extreme when it comes to, we are very secular and a very individualistic people. And this definitely shows in our schools. So we have very flat organizations, and the teachers in the Nordics have a very high degree of self-authority. And Sweden is more like an anarchist in that sense. We are really far up in the curve. And this is important to understand if you work with Swedish schools, that the teachers have a lot of autonomy and decide themselves what they want to do in their classroom, and also what kind of tools they want to use. So you can take the next one. Sweden has, like the rest of the Nordic countries, went from poverty for the last 100 years to become innovation leads and have very strong economies. Education for all has been one of the success factors for building our country. And we have been having a lot of initiatives when it comes to IT and digital skills in schools. In the 80s, we had computing as a mandatory thing in the compulsory schools, which is some time ago. We had it for a couple of years and then we took it away again. But we've had different kinds of initiatives in Sweden digitalizing the education system. So we don't have a decade or two of experience. We have decades of experience. And I would say that's more or less the same in the rest of the Nordic countries. We also a very digital country, and we have a very high degree of internet, which also was state deployed for 30, 40 years ago, when we really started using personal computers in our homes. The Swedish education system is very decentralized. We have on the state level, we have laws and regulations, and we also have a joint national curricula for different schools, school forms, and we also have a national school inspection to follow it up. But otherwise, all the governance and the running of schools is done on a municipality level, exactly like the rest of the Nordics. So in Sweden, we have 290 municipalities, and then we also have this free school system. So we have many different organizations running schools in Sweden. Go back because I missed something. What's important here is to say that we've had a lot of digital initiatives, and we as late as 2018 we had the first national strategy for digitalization in schools, and that is very late. So the digitalization of the Swedish school system was a bottom-up movement, and by the time we had a national digital strategy, we were one of the most digitalized education systems in the world. So this digitalization is a bit different from the other Nordic countries because it came from the grassroots movement and moved upwards. So now you can change the picture. And we can see that the technology penetration before COVID was really high in Swedish schools. What we have been meeting because of the late national coordination was that we have a lack of basic infrastructure technical standards. Like in Denmark, you have the Unilogin system, for example. In Sweden, we have multiple solutions for logging in. We can also see, as we saw in the PISA results yesterday, that we have very big inequities and differences between schools, and that is also shown when it comes to the digital access, which is a problem equity-wise. So you can take the next. And what's happened lately is that for a year ago we got a new government, a right-wing government in Sweden, and the first tweet that came from the Ministry of Education was digitalization in schools has been an experiment, and we're rolling back the national strategy. And the policy reforms being presented for the last year is that just a couple of weeks ago, it was finalized that the national strategy digitalization for schools has been scrapped. So we don't have a strategy in Sweden anymore. This is a problem when it comes to equity, because the ones who need digital competence and has bad access to it will not be secured through a digital strategy. They have also changed the curricula for preschools, taking away screen completely, and they have also funded printed textbooks. They want to move from screen to print, as they say. And they have also now given some policy recommendations, which is definitely going to influence how school leaders and teachers need to prepare when they choose and evaluate their digital learning tools. And they want to have research-based and documented pedagogical value, added value, which is something that we are looking into at the moment. How can we document pedagogical added value? So this is very much interesting for the Swedish EdTest, the testbed that we are running. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the testbed. The testbed has been around for a couple of years. I think it's soon 4. And it is owned by EFOS, which is an independent research institute that is owned by the Organization for Municipalities in Sweden and also the organizations for the free schools. So all the school owners in Sweden own this testbed. The Swedish EdTech industry, we are a partner and have been collaborating and building, developing this testbed together with the researchers. The meaning with the testbed is to strengthen teachers' ability to choose, evaluate, and also the ability for EdTech companies to develop digital resources based on research-informed methodology. So that is, you can take the next picture. So what we want to do with the testbed is to narrow the gap between learning and digital development, and use learning sciences when we develop EdTech solutions for the EdTech companies. But we also know that quality, the main quality we can get from using digital tools in schools, is to do it consciously, and that teachers have the digital competence to choose and evaluate, and also use the tools that they in the classroom in a good way. So we want to increase their competence, and also strengthen and give good feedback to the iteration and development of EdTech products, so we produce better solutions that meet the needs that the teachers have. And the testbed is actually a digital platform. So tests are run in real life classrooms, but the testbed is a matchmaking tool where teachers from all these municipalities can log in and identify what kind of need they have. Maybe they want to become better in teaching math, for example, and then they can get matched by the companies that is online as well. So the teachers is in control and takes contact with the company or the product that they want to test, and then they set up a meeting, and then they start the test. And the test is actually, if you flip the page again. No, that was the end. But the test is actually a methodology where you have a set of questions, and the questions is developed by researchers, teachers, EdTech companies, in order to give really good and initiated questions to the use that you want, and also the need, but definitively the value of that you want to see in using the solution. And the methodology is developing all the time, and it has now recently been added many questions that is connected to products that has AI solutions built into them, so that they can also ask questions about AI to look for what kind of questions should you pose when you start using AI products in your classroom. We are also looking into this documented pedagogical added value to see how we can develop the testbed in order for school leaders and also municipality owners to use the testbed in order to document how they're using their digital tools, why they're using them, what kind of value they produce from it. So this is something that we have been started working very intensively on now, and hopefully we'll have something to release in the beginning in spring. So this is going to be very helpful, I think, both for EdTech companies, because the questions you ask to the EdTech companies are going to get tougher. So you need to prepare how to answer, how do you bring added value to the classroom? And this is super interesting, super complex, and very difficult. So we're very happy that we have our Nordic collaboration with all the competencies, so we can learn from you and also involve you in that process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jannie. You're so right. We do need to collaborate and learn from each other. And listening to today's presentations, I'm learning even more than from all the different meetings and discussions we had so far. So thank you very much for taking us through the latest developments in Swedish EdTest, and also through the history of what has been happening in Sweden. And last in a row, we have Oddur from Iceland, who will be talking about the Innovation Hub that they are running at the University of Iceland, Oddur Sturluson. I hope that you are able to activate your camera and speak, Oddur.
Yes, I think I can.
Very good. Yes, we can see you and hear you. So go ahead.
Great, thank you. And thank you everyone for your talks. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different because I come here today wearing several hats. So I'll be talking on behalf of the EdTech industry, but also on our projects at the University of Iceland and what we're doing here, and talk a little bit about why we're doing it. Iceland, of course, is similar in a lot of ways to the other Nordic countries, but in several regards, it's also quite different. And I often say that some of the things that are true about the other Nordic countries are also true about Iceland, but they're also more exaggerated. I think you can see that, of course, our geographic and historical and cultural factors all play a big part in that. But it's also, I think, true that we are looking at a larger cultural change that we need to make to be able to deploy and utilize EdTech in a better way in Iceland. Could you switch the slides for me, Natalia? I'm afraid I can't do it myself. Thank you. So, yes, well, I wanted to talk to you about the impact of EdTech for Iceland and why we are trying to prioritize it now, and especially due to Iceland's geographical reality as a very rural country. So I think it's important to say at the beginning that although Iceland is known for being quite strong in innovation and especially technical innovation, we lag behind in several important metrics from the other Nordics in terms of our education, as evidenced by our position in the recent PISA rankings, which I assume everybody has already read and talked about quite a bit so far. But it's very important, and it's part of the reason that every time that the PISA rankings come up, we have this conversation about how we can use them and how relevant they are to us. It's a common joke that, according to statistics, Iceland is either the worst or the best country in the world. And that's partly due to the fact that, of course, we are only roughly 400,000 people in a very specific and in a lot of ways very strange economy. And it can often be difficult to draw a fair comparison based only on large numerical metrics. But nonetheless, it is one of the few reliable tools for comparison we have, and so we have to use it. And I think it's interesting in this regard because a large part of Iceland's national identity has been specifically about how historically we had a high literacy rate, and education has always been prized. But in recent years, no matter how you look at it, there has been a downswing in academic attainment. So there's sort of a dichotomy there of how we are strong in technology and startups, and how we've managed to create in recent decades, especially, a innovation and startup support system which can compare to other countries. But we have not so far done exactly the same for the EdTech industry. So if you'd switch the slide for me, please. So of course, as I mentioned before, and I thought one of the graphs that Jannie used, where they were sort of placing the Nordic countries, I doubt anybody else noticed it, but there Iceland was sort of stood alone as one of the Protestant Nordic countries as being quite traditional. And it's sort of funny that that is true, but it's also the truth that in such a small community, the swings of economic reality and also the needs of the industry have changed very quickly and have created a culture of jack of all tradesism, where people try to move quickly from one thing to another to react to changes. And this is part of what is very important in such a rural community. And it's part of why we are especially interested in EdTech, not as just a tool for distance learning and for online resources, but for being able to create personalized and engaging learning experiences. So we are looking specifically at projects that we can take to support adaptive learning technologies. We can tailor educational content to meet individual student needs and accommodate different learning paces and styles. Switch to the next slide, please. There have been several, or actually there are recently, in recent years, we have started a organization for the EdTech industry here, which is part of our wider Federation of Industries, and which works on supporting EdTech companies. Of the organization, there are 13 members, although there are many more EdTech companies in Iceland. But what's interesting is that we have yet to see much deployment of these EdTech solutions in Iceland's environment and in Iceland's school system. That's, of course, partly because it's all publicly run, and so with that comes, bureaucracy and other challenges in trying to sell to the Icelandic school system. And once you finally do, there's not much money there. So not only do we have EdTech companies that have been internationalized immediately and sell their solutions abroad, but they even don't have any. They don't sell to Icelandic municipalities at all, which is quite remarkable. And it is positive to encourage startups to be international from the get-go, but it is worrying that our education system hasn't done enough to support these startups. So with that in mind, if you switch to the next slide, please. We've done a lot in recent years to try to support a change, a cultural change, as well as a technological change, starting from younger school levels all the way up to the universities. We have in recent years also created the hub for educational innovation, which works on several projects, most of which have foreign role models, in which we try to bring to Iceland and to customize to Icelandic economic and demographic realities. And it's important that we've been fairly successful in creating a path to make that happen. And I'd like to just, if we switch to the next slide, please. Because I see I'm quickly running out of time, but there are two sort of examples that I would like to mention. Of course, Iceland's famously geothermal energy hub, and it's remarkable that while we do use geothermal energy, that only began in the mid 20th century. And up until recently, we had no patents from geothermal energy related startups. And now we have several. And the only thing that changed there was not a sudden increase in the number of people or in the number of companies. It was a change in the mindset and the culture. And up for my final slide, another example I'd like to take, and this picture that you can see is from a company called Kerecis, which uses fish roe or fish skin, to create bandages for people with serious injuries or diabetes, to replace their skin for wounds that won't heal. And the reason I mention this company specifically is just to make a point that this company is based in a town called Ísafjörður up in the northwest. It's a town of 4,000 people, and this company was recently sold for $1 billion. And so, a biotech company in the blue economy, both of which Iceland is famously good at, and we are not. We don't excel in EdTech in quite the same way. But my point is mostly that, this is a $1 billion company that was created and run in a 4,000 person village out in the middle of nowhere. So it really goes to show that with the right mindset and with the right strategy, a small population doesn't have to be a deal breaker. But this is a success that we've managed to achieve in these industries, and we are trying to work on what we can do to achieve similar successes in EdTech. And I can see that I'm running over my time, so that'll be it for me. Yeah, look forward to our discussion.
Thank you so much, Oddur. I'm so proud of all the work that is happening in the Nordic countries. Really fascinating examples we heard so far. And I personally am burning with questions, and I know that there are some in the Q&A. But just to stick to our plan, we'll have 5 minutes break so that everyone can fill their coffee cups and stretch legs. Then we'll hear from Louisa and Kahoot. And after that, we can ask and discuss all these questions and insights that we heard. So